I moved to Nashville in 2013, and I started at Husk and worked my way up to the chef de cuisine. The opening chef on property, Andrew Clamar, we've gone back 20 years. So we've bobbed and weaved out of each other's culinary journeys forever. And I ate at the last night of the first Rambling series, and it was just a very memorable moment. Just the outdoor dining, live fire, entertainment, Reed Turchie playing on the guitar, just wailing. It was awesome. It was just like an experience that you knew you wanted to be a part of. I'd been out here before, seen the property, but that kind of capture moment really sealed the deal. And then Andrew and I started talking about what it would look like for me to come out here. I grew up in western suburbs of Chicago and started at an early age cooking with my mom in the kitchen. She loved to share hospitality and food and love and all that kind of stuff. So I think that kind of started at a very early age. And another project that she worked on, she would cook church family night for 100 people every Wednesday, just out of the generosity of her heart. And from an early age, I loved that and really embraced that. My first memory of knowing that I wanted to cook, and it kind of took me a long time to reflect on this, but it's my great-grandmother's larder in her basement. She had pickles and tomatoes, and back in that age, you had to do that process to survive through the winter, which is something that we're embracing in Southall because the winter months are very lean. Yeah, it's canning, and in the moment when you're a 5-year-old kid, you don't really realize like pickles and tomatoes and all this stuff that was preserved throughout the season and why you're enjoying it in winter. But with some self-reflection, I've realized that that's a very important ingredient to why I'm a chef right now. At Southall, the connection and the menus are all driven from the farm. Weekly, I have a farm meeting with Farmer Alec, and he, during the lean times, the down times with him, we've spent the entire winter crop planning. So we know, and we've identified and gone through the process of knowing exactly which type of zucchini we want, what kind of tomatoes we want to grow, and that whole process is planning in January and February and making sure that we dot our I's, because what he produces is what I get to showcase on the center of the plate. And then when we get those high quality ingredients that we produce on the farm, it makes my job even easier. Because I would say our philosophy is just showcasing that ingredient, highlighting it with a little bit of fat, olive oil, a little bit of acid, a little bit of garnish. Right outside of January, we have our own herb bed. So it's got herbs and flowers that right before service, I get to go out, kind of have a little meditation, me time, and pick the garnishes for the night, which is just impactful for the guests as well, to be able to point out, like, that shrimp and grits is garnished with lovage. It is literally picked from right there. So it's kind of an immersive moment to be able to tell the story and allow our servers to have the storytelling aspect of Southall. That's the biggest thing. We have Chef Richard Jones. He preserves in season lacto-fermented hot peppers, sweet peppers, pickled okra, kimchi, sauerkraut. So we have it to use throughout the winter, which is, it's an extra trick that we really enjoy. So the influence of the menu from the farm is just purely dictated on what is harvested per week. Changes with the spring. Right now we're about to see a lot of green things, which is great because we've been leaning on braised collard greens and sweet potatoes and all that kind of brownish but delicious food. But now we're about to pop into spring with fava beans and peas and kale and spinach. So that's bright and exciting, and we can't wait for it. It's coming soon. But that leads us into summer, which is eggplant and tomato, zucchini, the bounty, where you are just blessed with more produce than you know what to do with. That's where it leans back into the jammery, where he can preserve, like the pappardelle pasta that we serve in Sojo, is tomatoes that Richard canned from last year. So everything we use is either used peak season or prepared in an intentional way for the leaner times. And all of the menus are, dictated by the new produce. There's micro changes that could happen throughout the week where we don't have enough arugula, so we use Mizuna. So that January menu is printed daily because we put the date and the weather, and there's always a little change. And then the full sale changes are done based on produce. It's kind of the journey of January, trying to identify the difference between, because we have two restaurants, Sojourner, which is our more casual restaurant. Both restaurants open to the public. Sojourner is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Both restaurants are focused on seasonal produce. January is that immersive tasting menu only. Right now it's 13 courses, and it goes from, we start off with like a little amuse bite, which is just kind of waking up your palate. And there's a cool story around the amuse as well, because we change it every week. It's a free bite for the guests, but we allow every prep cook, a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, whether you work in Sojo or January, to have an opportunity to put something on the menu. So I would say, we're very thoughtful and want to teach our creative ability to young cooks, and that gives them the opportunity to get their first thing on the menu. And then that kind of steamrolls, and our January menu is definitely influenced by Andrew and myself. Our sous chefs have dishes on the menu. Our line cooks have dishes on the menu. It's not mine, it's not Andrew's. We want to share, and everyone's creative, and we have an amazing team that takes a little pressure off me. I think when people leave January, I want them to feel like we have anticipated every moment of service. They have left nourished and just excited about what they ate, flavor combinations that they wouldn't have created at home, but also comfort as well, where they were also nourished, but there's approachable food, but also some interesting things. Right now we have ramps growing on property, so we have the ability to go out and forage a wild onion that's showcased on the pork dish, which is just there's no other place that you can go out and do that. It's just, I guess thoughtful is the most appropriate word for what I see for January. My day-to-day job, I would say, is there's never the same day twice. There's things that I can't even think of that would happen. There's a moment where we thought we had enough turnips from the farm, and at 3 o'clock we're making a pivot because we also have a jamboree that does events and an event center, and we all share the produce, but sometimes it doesn't go as far, or so just being creative, I think, and that in taking those challenges and just being flexible, creative, and finding a solution. My favorite thing about Franklin is just the scenic beauty. The rolling hills, as you can see behind you, the farms, the relationships I've built in the last 13 years being in Nashville. It's just beautiful. It's like driving into work. I live in Nashville, but my whole way is just scenic, beautiful, and I know why I work at Southall, because it's just surrounded by beauty. Just going more into relationships. It's just farmers we've met along the way, and we utilize Bear Creek Farm. They're great friends of ours. That's like my Nashville family, Bill and Leanne. It's just the community that Franklin is, that is just supportive of us, but also everyone and all the chefs, and just seeing the growth in Franklin in terms of the culinary scene is great. If I'm gonna recommend 2 restaurants in Franklin, it would be Taqueria Jalisco if you're looking for a casual Mexican bite. It's just super authentic. I would recommend the empanadas. And then before we opened this place, when we had a little bit more time to take a lunch, I would go to Davis General for a sandwich, or Halfway Market for a meat and 3. Some future dining experiences that we're looking to implement at Southall. We have this beautiful range suite up at the hilltop where we are now that has no electricity run to it, so it's all wood fire, which is awesome. Pizza oven, hearth, really can do anything up here. And we're looking just to, at some point, my goal is to just run an outdoor dinner series up here for 50 or something people, kind of rambling style, but offer it to guest chefs. You know, we have such a talented crew in-house that give somebody the opportunity to cook their food and showcase what they're doing. The level of hospitality at Southall is just the highest level. We want everyone to feel comfort, nourished, satisfied when they leave, but just well taken care of and not have to ask for anything. We've anticipated every need, so you walk away feeling just the best experience possible. It's just with your heart, and philosophy we're kind of working on and kind of embracing at Southall is lead with love. And I think those few words just embrace our culinary and hospitality philosophy is of taking care of, you're just providing nourishment. It's just food at the end of the day. And, you know, as a chef, I try and, you know, humble myself with that, but also, you know, it's important.